Tom Downey here for Dolphins Today. Coming up later this weekend, we will do a mailbag. So we will answer all of your Dolphins questions since there is no live show this week. We still want to have you guys engaged, answering any questions you have. So get them in using hashtag Dolphins in the comment section, just like we do for live shows. Makes my life a little bit easier to find your questions so we can answer them on an upcoming mailbag. We're going to begin with an interesting story on today's show. Could Mike McDaniel, entering year 2, be on the hot seat after he got some Coach of the Year buzz around himself for Miami? That's the argument, the suggestion from Fansided that McDaniel could be on the hot seat already. The main argument there was the Dolphins went 9-8 in McDaniel's first year, which was pretty good, but they started really hot and then kind of cooled off, and that owner Stephen Ross has never been afraid to fire coaches or GMs fairly quickly. McDaniel, though, it's a one-year sample size, so it's cheating, does have the best winning percentage of any Dolphins coach since Dave Wanstead, which is kind of part of my point here. The Dolphins have shuffled out coaches a lot. That is not a good thing. Brian Flores had some weird stuff going on around him, but Adam Gase was bad. Joe Philbin was mediocre. Tony Soprano had some success but was not great. We don't talk about Cam Cameron here. Nick Saban was in and out pretty quickly. Dave Wanstead was fine. Jimmy Johnson was fine. Don Shula is one of the greatest coaches ever. In the end, folks, Miami has 3 playoff game appearances since 2001. That's it. That's not exactly a good metric. That's bad. So why are we even putting out the idea of dumping the one coach who got you to the playoffs in year 1? My issue over the years with the way the Dolphins have run their franchise has been a lack of stability. They'll fire the GM, let the new GM hire a coach, keep the coach, fire the GM, bring in a new GM, then fire the coach, then fire the GM, and constantly shuffling those two, I think has led to some disconnect between overall organizational philosophy. I think you have some stability right now with Chris Grier and Mike McDaniel, but firing coaches every few seasons is bad. That's not a sign of a stable, successful organization. So we're going to go more in depth with some of the arguments from what Fansided had laid out, but overall, this Mike McDaniel hot seat talk is insane to me. I don't think it makes any sense. I think you give him time. Yeah, he had some down years. Well, you're down stretch. Your quarterbacks, both Tua and Bridgewater, were hurt. Why are we even talking about firing this guy? So what do you think? I will go the democracy route and leave it up to you guys. I almost went N for no, H for hell no, but you can still type in H, I guess. Y for yes, N for no. Should Mike McDaniel already be on the hot seat? It's the pinned comment on today's show. So if the ad comes here on YouTube, take advantage of it. Head down there and let me know. Here's what Fansided argued, and we'll break down a bunch of their quotes here. The point is that Stephen Ross does not have a history of patience for his head coaches. In 2022, the Dolphins began the year as the hottest team, and rookie head coach Mike McDaniel looked like the next young genius head coach from the Kyle Shanahan tree. But injuries began to pile up. The Dolphins had no answer, and McDaniel finished his first year at a mediocre 9-8 record, losing in the first round of the playoffs. I do want to be clear, 9-8 and the playoff berth is not mediocre. Mediocre is going like 7-9 or 7-10 with the new extra game schedule. That's what mediocre is. Being a playoff team, making the playoffs, that's not mediocre, guys. That is not what that definition means at all. Now, Fansided also argued this. After spending his first year as a head coach calling the offensive plays, it may be beneficial to McDaniel to relegate the play calling to his coordinator Frank Smith or even passing game coordinator Darrell Bevell, who has much playoff play calling experience from his days in Seattle. Either way, delegating one member of his staff to calling plays can possibly alleviate some of the crucial mistakes Mike McDaniel made in his rookie season. So the solution here for the perceived mistakes made by McDaniel in the playoffs, which, like, you didn't have to, like, what are you going to do there? We're going to take away the play calling. We're going to take away the reason why McDaniel got hired in the first place, being the offensive mind. What are we even doing here? How does that make sense? We're going to give it to Frank Smith, to Darrell Bevell, who, to be clear, is a failed offensive coordinator. None of these ideas make a lick of sense to me whatsoever. We are 1 year into Mike McDaniel. The Dolphins exceeded expectations last year. The Dolphins' offense looks vastly better than it ever looked under Brian Flores, and in theory, Vic Fangio as DC is going to lead to a massive change and success on that side of the football. What are we doing, Fansided? Be better. Now, if you guys want more videos on the Miami Dolphins, sometimes me ranting, sometimes me not, make sure you guys are subbed. YouTube.com/Dolphins News. Free videos every single day when you guys are subscribed. ESPN has named their top 10 safeties, I should say, in their conversations with coaches, execs, etc. And Jevon Holland checked in at number 5. Minka was number 1, Dolphins legend. Derwin James, Justin Simmons, Baker, Jesse Bates, Kevin Byard, C.J. Gardner-Johnson, Talanoa Hufanga, Antoine Winfield. Holland was number 5, which I'm pleased to say was the case. I will make note that Holland was as high as number 3 on some rankings. So Holland getting plenty of buzz from ESPN / others around the NFL since they base it on conversations with coaches, players, and execs as well. Here's what one NFL personnel director told ESPN about Jevon Holland. Every time you watch Miami on cross tape, you see number 8 and say, that's a real guy. The next one, they pay. He does everything. Range, can play around the box, tackles, the ultimate chess piece. We're going to go more in depth here on Holland and why ESPN / NFL is so high on him. But I want you to rank Holland among all NFL cities. Is he number 5? Is he higher on that list for you? Is he a little bit lower? I want you guys to get your answers in for me. Where else but the comment section? I will be honest. I will never lie and sugarcoat things to you guys. I'll be honest with you, give you unbiased analysis. I was not expecting a top 5 spot for Jevon Holland. In general, the NFL is often slow to adjust to new players. There is some recency bias, but they'll go with the established guys as well. But I ain't mad at it. I'll tell you that. I do love the respect given to Holland, who I do think is, if you're counting young safeties, especially guys on their first contract, not many dudes I'd take over him right now. I think that personnel director had it right. Jevon Holland can do a bunch of different things for you. He can play around the box. He can be a deep safety guy. He is a fun chess piece that I think will fit really well in the Vic Fangio scheme with what they're going to do on defense. So I was going to be like, you know, if he's top 10, great. I love the respect. He should be top 10. Top 5, even better. And if he plays again, takes that another step forward, maybe he'll be top 3 or higher when we do this again next year. Dolphins hats are on sale for you guys. Get yours today, chatsports.com/Dolphins draft. It is the draft hats that are available. If you did not get yours earlier, well, now is the time to do so. They are actually on sale, 25% off because the draft is over. So if you waited, I know it's Prime Day, but you got a special deal here over at Fanatics. We'll put that link in the comment section and the description of today's show. It's chatsports.com/Dolphins draft. Again, that link, comment section, the description. The draft hats are available for you guys. Let's talk running backs, tied into Dalvin Cook a little bit here. So Bleacher Report claims the Dolphins should actually be moving on from signing Dalvin Cook because the Dolphins made an offer to Cook that was viewed as not enough by his camp. He said no, therefore they should move on. Some flaws there, in large part because, well, then why wouldn't other teams move on too? Because if no one's offer has been good enough for Dalvin Cook, why are only the Dolphins moving on? I don't think that's a logical connect. But anyway, here's what Bleacher Report wrote. With Cook unwilling to accept Miami's current offer, the Dolphins should already be moving on to other options. Financially, it would behoove them to save as much cap room as possible ahead of camp, since one key injury could leave them scrambling at a pricey veteran through free agency or trade markets. That's also not true. The Dolphins right now have Raheem Mostert. They have Jeff Wilson. They have Devon Achane, plus backups in Myles Gaskin, Salvon Ahmed, who are pretty cheap from that perspective. This idea, though, that these other free agents are going to be super pricey when no one signed them in July doesn't make sense to me. The 3 names mentioned, and we'll go more in depth on all these players: Kareem Hunt, J.D. McKissic, Rex Burkhead as well. 3 guys who, they don't move the needle for me, especially compared to Dalvin Cook. So of those 3 players, who again, we'll go more in depth in here momentarily, would you sign any of them? S for sign, P for pass. Go vote. Where else, of course, but the comment section. Let's look at the numbers for these 3 players. Kareem Hunt, 123 carries, 468 yards, 3 scores. Didn't play very well on the ground. J.D. McKissic, Rex Burkhead were basically non-factors as actual rushers. Now, the pitch from Bleacher Report was on the receiving side, and they were better there. McKissic was way more productive. Rex Burkhead, more productive. Kareem Hunt can still contribute there a little bit, but his numbers don't look that different than Rex Burkhead, and Burkhead's kind of like watch at this point. In the end, I think Bleacher Report is actually missing the points about the Dolphins' interest in Dalvin Cook. It's not about adding a running back just to add a back. It's about getting Dalvin Cook and upgrading at that position. I'll be honest, Kareem Hunt, J.D. McKissic, Rex Burkhead, those options are pretty mid as far as I'm concerned. That does not move the needle in terms of like, are they better than RB4 on your roster? I don't think so. And if that's all you're adding, you don't have to panic and sign someone. So Miami should absolutely wait and see what happens with Dalvin Cook.